everyone, welcome back to another video. Today we're back onto the Super Famicoms. In this one we're going to do a simple little mod, which is a manual switchable 50 to 60 Hertz and switching the CIC chip, which is the region chip as well. So what we're going to do, we've got a standard Super Famicom here, which just has the normal outputs on the back, and we're going to change all of that. But this is just to show you that this is a Japanese version, so we've got a Japanese cart in there at the moment. So if we turn that on, that boots up as normal, which is perfect. But then if we turn it off and put in a Australian power cartridge, like so, and turn it on, we get nothing. So we're going to do a mod on this, which is going to turn this into our region free, just with a couple of dollars worth of switches. So yeah, let's get into it. Righty ho, so here we are, back on the blue mat. So pulling these things apart, as you've seen, I've done a few of these now, just undo those trailing screws. So I'll do all that and we'll strip it down to the main board, and then I'll show you what we're going to do to make this a switchable, so it's switchable between the regions. Okay, so I've taken the top off, taken the plate off and all that kind of thing, undone the screws. So we should now, once we pull this out the front, and this is a later model one too, the Japanese one, because the earlier ones had the separate sound piece here. This one doesn't, it has the sound chip on the board. So once we've done that, we can now lift that out and put him aside. And what I will do is I will take off this heat shield as well, which is just a matter of undoing those 4 screws and the 1 screw that holds the rectifier on. So I'll just do that. Right, I've undone those 4 screws, so this should now just lift off. And that's probably why this one goes well. Looks like this one's had a recap. It's had a couple of capacitors changed on it, which is good. We know it goes fine, so I'm not worried about that. Now what I am going to do for this modification, because we've got to add these couple of these little switches here. So I'm actually going to remove the RF output here off the board, and by doing that we can use that hole, and I can create a hole where the switch was for the 2 switches on either side, and the voltage we need is actually underneath here as well, so we don't have to run wires to get the voltage we need to switch between 60 and 50 Hertz and the different zones. So what I'll do is I'll look at getting that off. A little bit tricky because these are all soldered in, screws and solder. So we'll just have a look and see what we need to do to get this off. Righty ho, so looking at this, I've taken out, there was a screw there and a screw there which I've taken out, and it looks like this piece is just held in now by these solder points here, and we can see we've got a B plus at one end and a ground at one end. So there's our power supply that we need once we remove that. But what I'll do is I'll just get my desoldering tool, put a bit of flux on it, and we'll get stuck into this and actually remove the RF bit. Okay, so just get our desoldering tool, put it over there, do each of these pins. Look at that, it's actually just dropped out. So we're good to go. So those pins are unsoldered now, so this piece should, there we go, just lift straight out, and then we've got a nice open area that we can use for our switches. What I do need to do though is I do need to take this out in the shed and actually make that into a round hole as well, just so that we can add the 2 switches in there. But yeah, that's the beauty of this design here, is that it's actually got it's already got the positive voltage we need at that end and the negative voltage we need at that end that we can use, because for these switches they do need a negative and a positive to switch between the two. So let's go out in the shed, and I'm going to drill a hole in that, and then I'll come back and we'll install the switches. Right, I've drilled the hole in there. It's not as big as the hole next to it, because it only needs to be 6.5mm for these switches. But what I'll do is I'll pop the switches in, and the switches I've got are a 3-pole, and these just switch up and down. So your center pin is always the one that's connected. So if we had a positive to this side and a negative to this side, we switch it up that way, it's going to do a positive, and if we switch it down that way, it's going to switch it to negative, which is what we need, because we need to trick this thing into thinking it's either NTSC or PAL signal with the 60 Hertz and 50 Hertz. So what I'll do is I'll mount these switches, and then we'll get on to the next stage of actually starting to wire up the board. Okay, I've got those switches mounted in there now. So that's what we need. And what we'll do is we'll start wiring up stuff. What I will do is, so to do this mod, we're going to have to switch the CIC chip, which is that chip there. We're going to have to switch leg 4 between positive and negative, and that's going to trick it into which region it's from. And then the other switch, we have to lift the leg on each of the PPUs, and I'll show you which ones we do that too, but they're wired up together and they go to this switch, or they go to another switch here, and what that does is it switches it from 50 to 60 Hertz. So what we'll do is we'll get everything organized. I'll get some wire together, and we'll start wiring up everything how we need to wire it up. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is I want to lift pin 4 on the CIC chip, which is the lockout chip. This is the simple way of just telling the machine to just play anything, really. It'll play most games. So what we're going to do, sorry about the picture, I mean I've just got my camera looking directly onto my microscope screen itself, but what we do need to do is we do need to get pin 4 lifted, which is just this one down over here. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we just want to lift that one up, and then we connect a wire to that. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to put some flux on it. I've got something a bit more pointier than this, and just get that one lifted. So I'll do that now. Okay, I don't know if you can see that there, but we have got pin 4 lifted. So what I need to do is connect a wire to that, and that needs to go to the center pole on one of the switches. So I'll get that done. Right, so I've soldered a little wire onto there, put a little bit of tape under there just to protect it. Gone up here and just used the tape to guide it all the way up around here, out there, and soldered onto the middle pole of the first switch. So that one's sorted. Right, next we've got to lift pins on these PPU chips. So we've got PPU 2 and PPU 1. So let's look at what we need to do on these ones. So on PPU 2, we need to lift pin 30, which is the very end one. So I'll lift that now. And on PPU 1, we need to lift pin 24, which is somewhere down around here. One of these ones. So I'll lift pin 30 first on this one, and then we'll lift pin 24 on PPU 1. Right, so I've got pin 30 lifted here, and pin 24 lifted there. Pin 24 is tricky because it's in between all these little tiny spots, but I've checked and I have lifted pin 24, and 25 and 23 on either side are still connected. So we're good to go. So what we need to do now is we need to get a bit of wire and join pin 24 to pin 30, and then continue that wire to the middle terminal of the second switch. So let's do that. Righty ho, so I've managed to get that pin 24 connected to pin 30, and then the wire going all the way to the center position of the second switch. And I did my continuity test from there to there to there. It's all good. Same with this one from there to the CIC chip. So now all we've got to do is we've got to wire up our positive and negatives to our switch here. And because like I said before, they're on the back of here, ground and positive. So the two bottom terminals of the switch we can join together with one wire and just connect that to the negative terminal. So I'll do that now. Okay, so I've just wired the two bottom terminals together, and then I've just poked the wire through the hole there and just soldered it on the other side into the ground terminal there. Done a continuity test and that's all fine. So now we've got to do the positive side. But what we do need to do is the switch going to the PPUs, we need to wire a 2.2, I think it's a 2.2K resistor before we go to the plus 5 volt, and that's just a protection resistor for that. We don't need to do it for the CIC chip, we only need to do it for the PPU. So what I'll do is I'll probably just solder the resistor onto the top of here, and then the other side of the resistor can go on the top of there, and then the wire can just go down into the 5 volt. So I'll find a resistor and we'll do that now. Okay, that's all done. I've got the resistor going from the top of the switch to the top of the switch of that one, and then I've got a lead going through the board onto the other side onto the positive 5 volt positive on there, and I've checked the continuity, that's all fine. So now we should be good to go. I've checked the continuity of all the wires, everything seems to be connected okay. So now it's just a matter of putting it all back together and testing it. So let's do that. So just before I put the lid on, I just want to show you I've got nearly everything together, but how tidy it is with the switches at the back. It just makes it nice and easy, and everything's out of the way, wiring's out of the way, and you don't really see it until you turn around the back. Right, let's get the rest of this put together and let's give it a go. Okay, so here we are. Now we've got this back on the bench. Let's give this a test. And just to show you, this is the one with the switches in the back. Cool. So both switches up. Let's try our Japanese game again. That should work. Yep, that's working fine. Okay. Right, so if we put in our Mario Kart, and this is the PAL version. Where is it? It's got Australia on there. God, focus. Yep. So when we turn this on, it should. It says this game pack is not designed for your Super Famicom. Cool. Right, let's switch the first switch down. Look at that. Boom. Working. Perfect. How easy is that? And this is a well-known one to not work if you just lift the pin. So just shows the mod does work, which is great. So hopefully you enjoyed that video. One thing I have been trying to do too is I've been trying to modify. I've been 3D printing. So this one's just a mock-up at the moment, but I'm actually looking at putting a USB-C power supply into one of these as well with the two switch holes in that. So I've just been modifying a plate to try and make it work, but it's a work in progress at the moment. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed that video. As you saw in the previous video last week, I'm giving away that Game Boy Color, so you can comment on this video as well if you want. If you haven't commented on the one previously, comment on why you'd like the Game Boy Color, and I'll draw it next week and I'll send it to one of my subscribers free of charge. So yeah, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Also another little mod for the Super Famicom that you can do just with a couple of switches. They're only worth a few bucks, and you can make it truly region free. So yeah, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already subscribed, and we'll see you in the next one.